A 60-minute segment detailing the Trump administration's deportations to a maximum security prison in El Salvador was pulled on Sunday night, stirring controversy within the news organization. The correspondent who reported the story, Sharon Alfonsi, accused new CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss of, quote, spiking the segment. Alfonsi sent an email to her colleagues expressing her frustration that Weiss had pulled the segment, which she called a political decision. She said they had reached out to relevant government sources for a response, but failed to receive one, and noted that her story had been cleared by the news organization's lawyers and standards team. Alfonsi suggested Weiss wanted government sources to be interviewed, and argued that CBS News has handed the Trump administration a, quote, kill switch for any stories it finds inconvenient if the network chooses to air stories without a government response. She also said the administration's failure to respond is a, quote, tactical maneuver designed to kill the story. Alfonsi wrote, quote, if the standard for airing a story becomes the government must agree to be interviewed, then the government effectively gains control over the 60 minutes broadcast. We go from an investigative powerhouse to a stenographer for the state. Weiss suggested the piece was held because it didn't include, quote, critical voices and was missing, quote, context. She also took issue with the program's use of the term migrants for the men instead of saying illegal immigrants. In response to the criticism, Weiss reportedly said on a CBS call, quote, I held a 60-minute story because it was not ready. While the story presented powerful testimony of torture at CCOT, it did not advance the ball, and this is 60 minutes. We need to be able to get the principles on the record and on camera. Weiss arrived at CBS News in October after leading the Free Press. Her arrival came shortly after her news site was bought by David Ellison, a Trump ally.
To all units, proceed to your post assignments. All units, proceed to your post assignments.
That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast.
Yeah, baby. It's episode 12 of Probable Cause on December 30th, 2025, aka the final show of the year. Other podcasters are taking the night off, but not us, Greg. We have a work ethic to uphold, right?
We're grinders.
And Somerville John is also with us. He's not taking the night off, fulfilling his audience duties. Thank you, John. I hope that you really fulfill your duties and give us a call at 520-525-8359. In fact, I hope others do. We can wish each other a happy new year or a happy Jew year, whatever is your preference.
That's a new one on me.
You haven't heard that one?
No, never.
What are you doing for New Year's Eve? Anything?
Quiet. Like to stay home on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, you're a guy who parties on Tuesday nights when there's no holiday. When you,
that's
so you
the
can beat
amateur
the
hour
pro.
that night. There's a lot of bad drivers out there.
Yeah, I know. John is eating dinner. You mean you're eating dinner now, or you're eating dinner for New Year's Eve? I'm not sure. He can't call because he's eating dinner. I think that's what he means. All right, whatever. Call later then. So we're going to talk a little bit about that Barry Weiss 60 Minutes controversy. This was about some prisoners, rather deportees, who became prisoners and were sent to Venezuela back in March, I believe it was.
Or migrants, if you want to take the 60-minute version of it.
Let's say migrants. I'm good with that.
No. Let's call it what it is.
Well, it's not that migrants is wrong, though, is it?
I think it's misleading.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. It implies that they're here legally, you mean?
Yes.
And that upsets you.
Doesn't upset me. I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it either.
All right. Well, I debuted a new solo, I don't know if we call it a podcast, but I'm going to be making these videos and commentaries called the Norman Report. And I just did the first one about this topic. And I refer to them as migrants in that report. So I hope you cope okay and aren't too upset with me.
How did you come up with the name for that show?
The Norman Report. It was very, I put on my creative hat. And,
I hope you didn't hire an ad agency for that or anything.
No. I did that all in-house.
Okay.
So Anyway, all right. So it's not the catchiest title, and we're going to play it and then chat about it. But I came up with a little bit of a different angle because the thing that I noticed about this, well, for those of you who don't know about it, just briefly, Barry Weiss, who's the new editor-in-chief of CBS News, pulled this piece at the last minute. This is after it went through, a vetting process. Their lawyers, standards and practices, whatever, at the network looked at it. And at pretty much the last minute, Barry Weiss pulled it. Her main argument is that she feels it needs one of the principals, as she means, meaning a high-level person from the Trump administration, to be interviewed. And the reporter on the piece, Sharon Alfonsi, as well as a lot of her peers at CBS and also just throughout the media industry, are outraged. They're freaking out, really. And I think, to me, the heart of the matter is whether or not 60 Minutes tried hard to get somebody from the Trump administration. Because if they didn't, I don't see why anybody would object to just trying to interview. And it's not as if Barry Weiss said, oh, this is a requirement from now on. She didn't even say it's a requirement for this story. All she said was she wanted to try. That's all.
Nor did she kill it like they keep claiming that she did.
Exactly, and they are claiming otherwise. So I noticed that various people who are media critics, just media professionals, people in general, were saying how hard the CBS crew tried. They tried repeatedly. They tried numerous times. And one way or another, they were conveying there was this great effort. And I noticed that in the 60 Minutes piece, by the way, it aired in Canada by mistake, so I was among many people who saw it. You saw it, Greg. Many of us saw it. In that 60-minute piece, Sharon Alfonsi did not even claim to have tried hard. She referred to basically she alluded to trying, but didn't say hard. She referred to one interview request. And then she had sent an email to her colleagues talking about it. She didn't claim there that there was any particularly, tenacious effort made. So I was left wondering, why are all these people talking about how hard they tried when she didn't even claim it? And so that's kind of the main thing that was the impetus for making the video. And anyway, so should we just screen it and then we'll chat about it afterwards?
Sure. Yep.
Right. It's about 10 minutes long, so Greg and I won't be on screen while we do that, and then we'll just come back right afterwards. Here is the very first episode of The Norman Report. Enjoy, won't you?
F. Norman, The Norman Report.
As you might have heard, a 60-minute segment about deportees imprisoned in El Salvador, where the Trump administration sent hundreds of Venezuelan migrants last March, did not air as scheduled on December 21st. Just a day and a half before it was set to broadcast, CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss decided to hold the story. She said she wanted someone from the Trump administration to be interviewed on camera, and she provided the 60 Minutes team with the personal cell phone numbers of White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and Border Czar Tom Homan. Although CBS announced the report will air in a future broadcast, and Weiss later told her staff she wants it to air as soon as possible, Sharon Alfonsi, who reported the postponed segment, sent a note to her 60 Minutes colleagues accusing Weiss of killing the story and doing it for a political rather than editorial reason. In her note, Alfonsi also said her team had requested responses to questions and/or interviews with DHS, the White House, and State Department, and they all refused. Although the segment didn't air in the U.S., it was seen in Canada, and at the very end of it, Alfonsi said this.
The Department of Homeland Security declined our request for an interview and referred all questions about CCOT to El Salvador. The government there did not respond to our request.
So, as you heard, Alfonsi mentioned only one request that was made for an interview and said nothing about asking for, let alone receiving, written statements. But on December 22nd, Isabella Simonetti, reported in the Wall Street Journal that responses had been sought and received from DHS, the White House, and State Department, but were not included in the segment. Apart from CBS, Alfonsi's media peers have responded much as she did. That is, they're pretending the story was killed rather than held until the boss thinks it's ready. They're also insisting that the 60 Minutes team tried so hard to land an interview, and it's therefore unreasonable for Weiss to want them to keep trying. For example, in a December 23rd article published in The Guardian, Margaret Sullivan told her readers that Alfonsi argued eloquently and persuasively that 60 Minutes repeatedly sought a comment and was turned down. Repeatedly? I politely asked Sullivan on her X page what she's referring to, and so did a few other people. Instead of answering us, Sullivan locked her account, and now only approved followers can see her posts. Likewise, media critic Jeff Cohn commented on his Facebook page that in her report, Alfonsi had mentioned repeated efforts to get responses from the administration. There's that word again, repeated, even though Alfonsi mentioned only one interview request. So I asked Cohn what he's talking about. He didn't answer. NPR media critic Eric Deggans sang the same song on his Facebook page. The way Deggans put it is, they tried numerous times to get a comment. Numerous? He not only refused to tell me how he knows about these numerous attempts, he also instructed me to stop with this nonsense and listen to the experts, because I've never reported a story and have never been edited. I don't know how he knows that. I also don't know what sort of expertise is needed to ask him what his source is. But I do know that Eric Deggans, in addition to pontificating for NPR, is a college professor specializing in the field of media issues, ethics, and journalism. So I decided to take his advice and speak with attorney Charles Glasser, who's also a professor. Moreover, Glasser spent 14 years as the global media counsel for Bloomberg News, where he was responsible for pre-publication review, ethics issues, and training the company's reporters on legal issues and journalistic fundamentals. He also worked in the legal department at NBC News and was a journalist for 13 years. I asked Glasser what he thinks about Margaret Sullivan's article and about Sharon Alfonsi's response to her story being held, and about the way Barry Weiss's detractors instantly embraced an apparently baseless narrative. Here are some of his thoughts.
Listen, Margaret needs to take a dose of her own medicine, because if you look at that paragraph, right, does it quote Alfonsi saying that? Does it cite to Alfonsi saying that somewhere? Does it say told The Guardian? No, it does not. The spin on this is just remarkable. The story was not killed, okay? It was held up. Newsrooms are not a democracy. She's the boss, period. Editor-in-chief is the king or queen of that newsroom. And wise leaders in all fields of endeavor take advice and confer with colleagues and interact. But her decision at the end of the day is her decision. And I have to tell you, the great newsrooms, I cannot imagine this happening. And I've worked in, as you know, in some of them for a considerable length of time. This would never fly at Bloomberg. It would never fly at the Wall Street Journal. It would never fly at Dow Jones. If you've got a problem with a story, yeah, you can piss and moan and make an argument at the editorial meetings, and, you know, that's fine. But you don't put it out there and craft this narrative that you are somehow the victim. The idea that a reporter would throw a temper tantrum and make all these claims and be the victim, you know, oh, the man is trying to silence my voice. And of course, they try and make it about, oh, this is caving into Trump. You just have to stop blaming Trump for an internal problem.
What do you say to those who are assuming the Trump administration gave 60 Minutes ridiculous answers that just weren't good enough to use?
Don't think for the reader. Don't be afraid of letting the donkeys bray. Let the asses bray, as Nat Hentoff used to say. And if anybody, be it Trump, be it Hillary Clinton, I don't care. Whoever is on the other side of the question, if they send you gibberish, boil it down and it'll look like gibberish.
I mentioned Jeff Cohn earlier. Now, this is a guy who has a lot of impressive credentials, not the least of which is that he was the producer of Phil Donahue's MSNBC show. So more than most people, Jeff knows exactly what's involved in booking high-profile, in-demand guests. And I would think that it's sometimes necessary to be quite persistent and that it's helpful to be able to directly contact the person being sought rather than going through a representative. But Jeff insisted it wouldn't be appropriate to call Stephen Miller or Tom Homan or whomever on their personal cell phones because of the, quote, repeated efforts that had already been made. But for all we know at this point, those repeated efforts might be non-existent. Nonetheless, he says calling someone's cell phone would in this case amount to begging, and that would be just too unseemly, according to Jeff. What do you think, Charles?
Journalists worth their salt, right? Any journalist on any beat worth their salt has the private cell number of big guy and big guy's number one man, their body man, right? On their cell phone. That's just the way it works. Hey, listen, I'm trying to reach so-and-so. I want to do an interview. That goes on tens of thousands of times a day.
It seems to me that some of the migrants sent to CCOT weren't even gang members. And regardless, nobody deserves to be tortured. So I'd like whatever is going on there to be exposed. Do you think this 60 Minutes story will eventually air even if nobody from the Trump administration is willing to do an on-camera interview?
Barry Weiss is a good enough reporter to move the story anyway, right? And said, we did everything we could. Here's what they said, boiled down, it's, whatever, a toss away paragraph and you're done. You're done.
You're done. You're done. You're done.
Very well done. Nice for that initial Norman report.
Thank you. You're very kind. So is Somerville John. I actually was not happy with my delivery, but it's okay for the first time. I was using a teleprompter and it was going too fast, so it's like, I don't know, it didn't sound natural to me. But anyway, well, it'll get better. It'll get better. So let's talk about the issue. Enough about me and my semi-acceptable delivery. I was thinking, Greg, that what you did when you were a cop and when you worked with the FBI is actually quite similar to being a journalist in terms of if you're an investigative journalist. And am I right? If let's say somebody was murdered on December 1st in New York City, and you had good reason to think Joey the Hitman did it because of his reputation or, whatever reason. But then it was confirmed that Joey the Hitman wasn't in New York on that date. He was in Italy. You wouldn't keep insisting it was Joey the Hitman, right? I mean,
no. Plus, I would have an obligation to reflect that in my investigation, and that's exculpatory evidence that I have to share with not only the prosecutor but the defense attorney at some point.
Yeah, I think we need to for you to pay a visit to the CBS newsroom to teach these people about just basic fairness. So Barry, I don't know all that much about Barry Weiss. I know that people dislike her, many people, because she's a Zionist, she's this and that, she's carrying water for the Trump administration. Let's assume that's true. I'm not saying it is, but let's assume it is. Nonetheless, she's the boss, And trying to get somebody in the Trump administration to talk on camera is not some weird thing that's never been done in the world of journalism.
No, and I think Glasser, addressed that, quite well. You don't want shoddy, be accused of shoddy journalism or poor investigative practice. So I would think that you would want to go out of your way to reflect every effort was made to try to elicit some sort of response from somebody in the administration. It only strengthens whatever the position is they're trying to take with their story.
Right, exactly. So if you know, or you have your, if you, or not you, but the police suspect somebody of something, well, it's a long ago example, but I think it's a good example. When George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin, there were demonstrations in the street immediately saying, why hasn't he been arrested? Why hasn't he been arrested? And, do you want him to be convicted or just arrested?
Correct.
And if he was arrested immediately, he would have lawyered up and said nothing, because that's always how it goes. But instead, he was cooperating with the police. He was going out to the scene of the shooting. He was talking on video for hours and hours and hours. It turned out that they pretty much had no evidence against him except what he said, which wasn't even that strong, but that's all they had.
Yeah, I mean, there's always this push-pull sort of a scenario where they expect the police to make an arrest, immediately, like on TV.
Yeah.
And, the police department, if they're doing their job effectively, should not feel pressured into making an immediate arrest. They want to make sure that their investigation is thorough and complete and can withstand the scrutiny of a judge and jury.
All right. So those of you who hate Bari Weiss, take heed. If you want to nail her, let's just see once you really have the goods on her and nail her. But you don't have the goods on her now.
Well, what is the rush? I mean, I don't understand what the urgency is to get the story out. It's still going to be a story next week or the week after. So I don't understand why they feel like it's. So
well, it was. I could see where it would be frustrating and annoying, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. It's not as if they had made plans to go to an event in some other part of the country and they had bought plane tickets and paid for hotel rooms. That would be suffering a hardship if that sort of a thing had been canceled. But this was just their little emotions. They were expecting the story to air on such and such a date. It doesn't cost them any money. It'll still air. And I think there's a very good chance that it'll be a better story.
It won't be a worse story, but Afonso obviously had a hissy when things didn't go the way she wanted them to go. And that's just not how, adulting works. We all have worked, for bosses, and you recognize that they're the shot caller. They have the ultimate say in what goes and what doesn't go. And you either live with it or you decide this is not the right place for me and you go somewhere else.
Right. Now, I have this feeling that what's going on at that prison is absolutely horrific. Torture, sexual abuse, getting beaten up. I mean, just when they arrived, the way they dragged them in, remember, in the chains, and they were all hunched over. It's like, why do you have to do that to people?
Well, the hunching over thing, I suspect, and I'm not trying to, I don't know. I'm not trying to apologize for them or explain, but
it sounds like you are. Let it rip.
No, but I think their strategy is they want them disoriented. They don't want them looking around to see where the exits are, how many guards there are, that type of thing. When your head's down looking at the floor, you don't have a sense of where you are, where the exits are, where the guards are, that type of a thing. So I can understand strategically maybe why they do that.
Interesting. I would have never thought of that. Did you just think of that right now, or is that something?
No. Somebody asked me about that when it was first aired, and I just said, you could put a bag over their head, or you could force their head down and make them look at the floor as they're being brought in, so that they don't have a good concept of the layout of the place. That's the only way you can really justify it.
Well, you could also put blindfolds on them. That wouldn't be nearly as uncomfortable as the way it looked, what they were doing to them.
I agree. That's why I said you could hood them. And
Oh, that's the same thing, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it'd have the same effect. But yeah.
Well, I don't think it would make too much sense to talk about the specifics of that story, because I know that a fair amount of people saw it. As I mentioned earlier, it did air by mistake in Canada, not even everywhere in Canada, but on one particular outlet. I forgot exactly what it is. And then, so it got out. A lot of people saw it, but not that many people did. So I guess it wouldn't make too much sense to go into the details, but it did look pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
but they've shown that footage before, Jeff, and other stories too. That's not brand new footage, I don't believe.
Yeah, well, that's Barry Weiss's argument. It was already reported, and she wants to add something to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I continue to be totally going insane over this whole idea that people who are Barry Weiss detractors are just insisting that she tried hard. But the other, not only her, but her, the team at 60 Minutes tried hard to get an interview. But yesterday, the New York Post came out with an article. Let me just, here it is. What? Something's not working here. Let me try that again. Okay. So the outraged journos want David Ellison, he's the owner of the company, to protect CBS News from Barry Weiss. So they're circulating a petition saying how terrible she is and how he's ought not to let her get away with too much, blah, 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 blah.
Jeff, this is the equivalent of I want to speak to your manager.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now, and so look at the part I highlighted. Once again, these media professionals are saying the 60 Minutes team made reported efforts to get a comment. Well, I don't know what these efforts were. You saw it and you heard it in my report. Here it is again. Yeah. What's going on?
The Department of Homeland Security declined our request for an interview and referred all questions about CCOT to El Salvador. The government there did not respond to our request.
Does that sound like repeated efforts?
No, I mean, and who knows who they even contacted? I mean, did they get to the switchboard and then that was the end of it? It's really intentionally vague, I think.
Right. Well, the implication is that, Barry Weiss actually said that they apparently only went through a spokesperson, and that's why she provided them with the cell phone numbers of Tom Homan and Stephen Miller. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I have that. No, I guess not. George Clooney weighed in. He's also outraged. And so Barry Weiss responded by inviting him to the CBS newsroom. He did an interview with Variety. And there's the quote: Barry Weiss is dismantling CBS News as we speak. Now, dismantling is a little bit of an ambiguous word. You can take that any number of ways. I think the way he meant it was ruining it. I guess she is to some degree dismantling. She's certainly reworking things. But is that necessarily bad?
I mean, I think she's doing her job as the editor-in-chief. I mean, that's her job duty, is to vet these stories to make sure that they're up to the standards of 60 Minutes. And it sounds like, in this particular case, it wasn't. So she's upholding, the traditions of solid investigative journalism.
Yeah. All right. So any predictions from you? You think the story's going to eventually air? And if it does, do you think it will or won't include any interviews on camera with somebody from the Trump administration? Go ahead, Nostradamus.
Well, I'm thinking they may split the middle and go with a released statement, possibly. I don't know if they want to subject themselves to an on-air interview, but they may come out with a prepared statement and submit that as their response.
Yeah, which apparently they already have. So I don't know. I just don't get it. That's why I showed this article. There's still this in a week or two, and they're still not even referring to the fact that the Wall Street Journal reported right there that 3 different agencies did give them statements. So I don't know if the Wall Street Journal's report is accurate, but if it is, that blows a big hole in the story that everybody else is making. And if this is not accurate, then that should be the story. But instead, everybody's just ignoring it.
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal is a pretty major publication. It's so big you can't ignore it, but they are.
Correct.
That's so weird, don't you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're onto it. I mean, I think you've sort of exposed their Achilles here in the fact that they maybe they don't like what the written statements say, and they would rather get an ambush interview done live and hope to trip somebody up and make them look worse.
All right. So your prediction is that the Trump administration will not agree to an on-camera interview, and then they'll wind up airing the story anyway and just go with statements.
My guess.
All right. I don't know that I disagree. I think the story will air for sure.
Yes.
That I would bet on.
Mm-hmm.
As far as whether or not there's an interview, I'm not so sure about that. The stakes may be too high at this point. Like Team Trump may figure this has just got too much attention now. There's no way that we can look good here. But I don't know. They may feel like they have a good argument. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll get a bigger audience than it would have otherwise gotten. That's for sure.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Shall we play our favorite game? What do we have? Any comments here? Forcing men to pay alimony and child support is modern-day slavery and unconstitutional. Oh, this is our new segment, the non sequitur segment.
I was going to say I must have walked away for a few minutes and missed something.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but it's also true I have 2 elbows, yet I'm not announcing that I have 2 elbows. I do. Lest you think I was joshing. How many elbows do you have?
Well, 4 if you count my 2 knees.
All right. You have 2 more than I have. Let's play Has It Happened to Greg? This is when we look at videos that are floating around the World Wide Web having to do with police interactions with the public. And then we turn to Greg and say, has it happened to you? Anything like it? And then Greg makes shit up. No. You're like under oath for the entire duration of not just this episode, but the whole podcast, the series.
Of course.
You are under oath. Well, since it's the end of the year, Greg, I thought that it might be nice to focus tonight on the police as the good guy.
Good.
None of these people getting beaten up things or anything like that. Wondering, did the police overreact? Very often, I don't know how often. Let's just say very often, the police do good things. They're kind. So let's highlight that tonight.
Good.
In the spirit of the new year. All right. Let's take a look at our first video. This you might find somewhat amusing, if not unusual.
DoorDash? What's going on here? Your driver got arrested. Oh, and come on, Joey.
Has it happened to Greg? Have you ever delivered food after having arrested, say, a pizza delivery guy? I know they didn't have DoorDash back in your day.
I was going to say thank you. Yeah, no DoorDash back in those days. I don't recall ever having to fulfill
All right, it's not specifically food, but have you ever collected the personal belongings of somebody and got to them? I'll tell you what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
You go first. Go ahead.
Well, no, I remember it's funny. I thought of this the other day because it's been very, very cold up here. Mm-hmm. So, I see on Facebook, somebody's pipe burst because they got so cold that the pipes froze and broke. And I grew up in New Haven and lived on a third floor apartment. So never lived in a real standalone home. And then, of course, now I'm working out in Brantford. I am just out of college. I'm living in a different apartment now in Brantford. And I get a call to go to a nice home. And there's a burst water pipe and the woman is frantic. And I'm thinking, I'm probably like the last person you want to show up to figure out this problem, knowing nothing about plumbing, never having lived in a standalone home. So it's about 10 degrees out. She's in the garage. Water is spraying out like a sprinkler system. And she's, screaming at me, do something. And I'm thinking, what do I do here? And after getting drenched, I was able to find a valve and turned it, and the water stopped flowing, thank God. But I was thinking at the time, like, I didn't sign up for this. I was kind of hoping to fight crime and conduct investigations. I didn't expect to be an impromptu plumber at 11 o'clock at night.
So did you work the rest of the shift or you go back to the police house and shower or what?
Oh, well, yes. Yeah. I was given the time to change into a set of dry uniform because that would have been hazardous to try to work under those conditions. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought of two instances from my life. One was when I got stabbed in Long Beach. And, I struggled with the guy who was robbing me, and he wound up winning because he had a knife and I didn't. And I don't know any self-defense techniques or anything. So he stabbed me multiple times. I'm lying on the street, possibly bleeding to death for all I know. I had nothing to compare it to. And anyway, finally the police came, and then the paramedics came. And I knew I was being taken to the hospital, and my glasses had flown away in the middle of the scuffle. So I was thinking, I'm going to the hospital. I want to be able to watch TV. I want to be able to see, this is not going to be pleasant. So I actually, asked one of the cops to try to find my glasses, and he did.
Nice.
Yeah. In fact, it turned out to be evident. And that this actually gave me chills later because one of my lenses had knife marks all over it. So, I'm thinking,
wow,
if I wasn't wearing glasses, I might have been blinded by this.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, it was good enough to see a little bit in the hospital. So that's kind of like a cop doing like a little something extra for somebody.
Yeah.
And then another time was, and this surprised me because I like firefighters, and anytime I've encountered them or observed them, I have a positive feeling about them. But in this particular occasion, some woman had a seizure in front of a supermarket, and they had a rough time, controlling her. And in the I wouldn't call it a scuffle, but while they were, trying to restrain her to take her to the hospital, her wig fell off. And I was just a bystander. I'm watching this, and they're like finishing up, and I see they're ready to take off, and her wig is lying on the sidewalk. And so I went up to one of the firefighters and said, "Aren't you going to take her wig?" And he said something like, "Oh, is that important?" I'm like, "Well, I guess it is to her."
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's wearing it for a reason.
Yeah. So I don't know. These are the things that pop into my mind. All right. Yeah. Something else popped into my mind is a little theme here when you were talking about how cold it was when you were Well, did you say cold when you got drenched or just?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why the pipes burst, because it was like below 20 degrees. Yeah.
All right. Let's keep with that theme. An icy pond.
Right here, Ruby to the rescue, our persons of the week. Tonight in Grand Traverse County, Michigan, the incredible rescue and the incredible bond between a dog and her owner.
Is that him right there?
Yeah. Michigan State Police Officer Cameron Bennett's responding to a 911 call. A 65-year-old man had fallen into an icy lake. His dog, Ruby, right next to him. Ruby on the ice, and she knew that her owner was in trouble.
I got a rescue disc. I don't know if he can get a hold of this disc or not.
Officer Bennett's rushing toward the man, the officer's body cam capturing the whole thing.
All right, you ready? I'm going to see if I can get this to you.
The officer throwing a rescue disc, but it doesn't reach the man. But the quick-thinking officer has an idea. Perhaps the man's dog can help.
Send your pup here. Will she come to me?
The man in the water telling the officer yes, his dog's name is Ruby.
Ruby, come here. Come here, Ruby.
Officer Bennett attaches the orange rescue disc to Ruby's collar.
Call her.
The dog's owner in the water calling his dog's name, and watch, Ruby running toward him with the disc.
Get a hold of that disc. Kick your feet back. Bring your feet up to the surface by kicking your feet.
Officer Bennett begins to pull the man out.
Keep pulling on that disc. Pull. He's out of the water.
A firefighter also on the scene crawling to the man, Ruby staying right by her owner's side.
Just stay right on your belly. Give me your hand, stay right on your belly.
The officer and the firefighter both grabbing the man's hands and taking him to a waiting ambulance. Tonight, both he and Ruby are now home and doing well. And tonight, that quick-acting officer, Cameron Bennett's grateful for the assist from Ruby.
Come here. The only other tool I had was Ruby. She knew Dad was in trouble, and she knew she had to do something to help too, and she could. He was in the water for approximately 16 minutes. It is a miracle that everything was as good as it was.
And so we choose that officer, the firefighter, and of course, Ruby. I'm David Muir. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
Suddenly, your little leaky faucet story doesn't seem so dramatic.
I'm humbled every week when we do these, because I thought initially, before we started doing these, that I had kind of an exciting, well-rounded career, and then I realized how boring it was in comparison to some of these stories. But that's a great story. I love that story. I mean, how clever to utilize the dog, which is probably 15 pounds or 20 pounds, so can cross back and forth without making it more dangerous.
Right. See, so there's different angles when we're thinking about, has anything like that ever happened to you? There's the dog angle. Has a dog ever been involved? And then there's, of course, the dealing with the possibility of drowning angle. Then there's the ingeniousness of the solution. Anything like that ever happened to you?
I'm drawing a blank on that. I wish
just the one you already said, the leaky faucet story.
I'm sticking with the leaky. It wasn't a faucet. It was a series
I know.
of
I'm just giving
garage. It was spraying water like it was a sprinkler system.
I know. I'm just giving you shit. When my friend here said, "Oh, what a story," I was thinking she was referring to my story, but then I saw Ellen Jimerson said, "Great story, Greg," and I'm going, probably the other one was about yours too.
No, but that was a wonderful story. I wasn't aware of that one. I think that's great.
Which one?
The dog being able to assist in the rescue efforts, and the police officer having the wherewithal to utilize the dog that way. That was great, because I'm sure if the guy fell through the ice, the officer wasn't going to do any better.
Yeah. I don't think I would. I would have just said, sorry.
Well, my question is, why were you out there to begin with?
I don't know. Who knows? All I said, no can do. Sorry. I didn't sign up for this, like you said. What would you do? Well, you don't know what you do really until you're in the situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's great that they have those discs, because at one time, you would probably tie a rope to a rock and heave it out there and hope that the guy could get to it. So it's good that they have that.
You must have been involved with a dog at some point, right? Don't you, at least, if not for a rescue, when you're going after a suspect? Haven't you ever? We had a dog when I was on the department, and
of course, his name was Sarge, which was not probably the best idea for naming a police dog because it created some confusion at the scene. But he was very effective.
That's funny, actually.
Sarge.
I know. No, him.
Yeah, right. Which Sarge are you talking to? But he had the name of the land shark because he wasn't a great tracker, but he was a very effective biter. So he went under the name of the land shark.
Not bad. All right, if you just joined us, tonight is our propaganda episode. We're making the police seem like good guys. No, they are good guys. Let's take show you another example of the police serving their community as we would want them to, doing good for mankind and even womankind.
Watch out.
Hold on a second. Can you see that?
No. There we go.
Okay.
Let me start that again. I couldn't see it. I don't know what's going on here.
Watch out. Where, right here? Okay.
He's not breathing. Look at my baby.
Just that close.
Look at my baby. He's not breathing.
What was he doing? Was he eating before that? Okay, we got crying. He's okay. Okay, you okay? Okay. Here.
All right, enough of that. The kid's fine. Just a little scare. Now, you police officers, you're trained to do certain things like the Heimlich maneuver and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we practiced at the police academy, with adult CPR and infant CPR. And also that included clearing airways. So I remember, I was an only child, so I didn't grow up around babies. But I do remember having to hold the little dummy, the little mannequin, in one hand, and then you would practice, tapping in between the shoulder blades to help dislodge any food. That was one of the first things you did before you went to CPR, hoping that resolved it because CPR was sort of a last resort.
So was the mannequin's family very grateful for you saving?
Yeah, I had a 100% success rate with the mannequin. Yes.
Right. Well, have you ever done, I don't know, saved a life or at least administered some kind of medical aid to
administered CPR, but ineffectively.
Ineffectively? The subject.
Well, one time it was unwitnessed, and it was only, I don't want to say it was performance theater, but it was more to appease the family because it was apparent that this CPR was not going to be successful in that instance.
Don't worry, I'm sure the statute of limitations has expired by now, Greg. So don't.
Well, no, but the thing is, when it's unwitnessed, it's really only successful within a short amount of period if it's witnessed. If it's unwitnessed, as in this case, it became apparent from the condition of the person that they had been dead for more than a little while. But with the family standing there expecting you to do something, you sort of go, I don't want to say through the motions, but you do it realizing that it's probably, impossible for it to be effective at that point.
Especially if they knew about your valiant efforts with the leaky faucet. They're like, come on, you fixed a leaky faucet.
Yeah, I was able to turn off the water.
This is human here. Come on.
And the other time it was unsuccessful. And I still think about it. But, I'm also told by medical authorities, if the heart attack is severe enough, it could take place in the parking lot of the hospital and the person's not going to survive it.
Okay. And do you have to worry about I don't know if malpractice is the word because you're not a doctor, but if you're not, a doctor has to worry about malpractice, right? But does a police officer, if they're...
No, I think there's a Good Samaritan law in Connecticut where, you know, if as long as you don't do anything harmful to the person, then you are covered. You're indemnified if you made a sincere effort to try to be helpful.
All right. What about a chokehold? Would that be considered?
Chokehold, I think we're in a different arena at this point.
All right. Let's see. Do we want to talk to Somerville John on the phone before we move on to the next video?
Is he on?
Yeah, he's in the process of coming on. Should we talk to him?
Sure, yeah.
All right.
I was going to kick out of him.
Somerville John, good evening.
Jeff, good evening. Greg, good evening. International audience, good evening. Happy New Year's to everybody. Guys, I just wanted to say, wish you well. Jeff, we will have a happy New Year. I will expect another email with articles from the faith, and we'll see if anything can be purchased.
All right, I appreciate that. What do you think of the positive light we're shining on the police tonight? Are you a guy? Would you consider yourself pro cop in general? And tell the truth, even though Greg is here and he has firearms.
No, I mean, we were brought up to respect the police. Of course, I sure wish they would keep their ticket book at home or lose it or something like this. But they have a very, very tough job. And when there's negative publicity about the police, then of course that hurts everybody everywhere. All policemen have to suffer the consequences. So I think it's a great idea that positive stories are being showed about the good work that they do.
Yeah.
Who's that? Is that your wife? Is that your wife in the background rooting you on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the boss. Yes.
What's her name?
I also need to take the end of the year opportunity to ask Greg how he gets these colored lights behind his back.
I think it was Amazon. It was an Amazon purchase, and they come with a little remote, and it gives you probably like 8 or 9 different choice colors, and so I can change them out as needed.
So in other words, he took the bulb in his hand and he screwed it into the lamp, and then he turned the lamp on. That's the secret.
Yeah, that's about the extent of my prowess.
That's good enough.
Did you think he like painted the bulbs or was doing something special to get the colors?
We didn't know. We remember here, the people that watched, we remember when the lamps were kind of like a purplish, bluish color. So now we see that it's like a red and a green.
No, you're behind the times. It's purple now. You're not watching your show.
Oh, look at this now. Everybody understand what's going on.
Ms. Sheridan, now it's your turn to call. I want Ms. Sheridan to give us a call. I want to hear.
Oh, she's better than me.
How do you know?
Well, everybody.
Have you talked to her?
Happy New Year.
All right. Thank you, John. What's your wife's name?
Ursula.
Ursula. Happy New Year, Ursula and John. All the best. Call anytime. We love you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jeff, now that we're talking about saving lives, I remember when I was getting ready to leave the police department, I had a guy come up to me one time and say, I want to thank you. You saved my life one time, and I'm not sure you remember it. And I said, no, remind me. And he said, yeah. He goes, you said to a group of your fellow officers, okay, let him up. I think he's had enough.
Oh, that was saving his life. All right. That counts. All right. So Ms. Sheridan says yes. I don't know if that's if yes to my invitation to call or some other yes. It's hard to put these things into context. Anyway, let's take a look at another video. See how many there are? Because there's a lot of evidence that the cops are good guys. There's no shortage of evidence. Here we go.
Finally, she was walking with a purpose tonight, the surprise of a lifetime. When the Franklin County Sheriff's Office in Kansas started receiving phone calls about a woman walking alone on this remote highway, they became concerned.
There's just nothing but farmland. It's not unusual for it to be 20 degrees in the morning, and it would really stick out for somebody to be walking.
Sergeant Vega and his deputies soon learning that the woman was Christine Wheeler, a mother of 3-year-old twins, and she was on her way to work at this convenience store.
She left her home 3 to 5 days a week to walk 6 miles to work in the cold and then walk 6 miles back home.
You heard that right, 6 miles each way.
She said she was walking to work so she could support her kids, and that really kind of stuck with me.
Sheriff Vega and his team had an idea to bring this mother some joy, some real holiday joy. The sheriff's office pooling their own resources and enlisting help from the community to bring Christine this moment right here.
All these people helped you get that thing.
Yes, please. Oh my God.
A van, auto insurance, and taxes paid for a full year.
I can take him to the park. Ah! Oh my God, there's even toys in there. Oh my God, I love it.
I want to say thank you guys so much. This means the world to me.
She was working really hard and doing everything she could to the best of her ability. So it felt really good for everybody involved to be able to help out somebody who really needed it.
She deserves that car and more. We thank KMBC for their help on that story. Good night.
Now, I've seen various stories of, the police chipping in to buy like a toy for some poverty-stricken kid or something like that.
I've seen it for air conditioners in brutal summers.
But buying a van, I don't know what it costs. That's a substantial amount of money, I would think.
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess it might have been a seized vehicle. No, I mean, you
seized in quotes.
Well, yeah, I mean, oftentimes in a drug case, if they're using a vehicle to transport drugs, you can file an asset forfeiture seizure and basically confiscate the vehicle. In which case, it becomes the property of the sheriff's department. We had done that several times where we used them as undercover vehicles later on.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing because it's kind of an odd vehicle to give a family of 3. I'm going to guess it was probably in their inventory and they were able to turn it over.
Maybe she was pregnant.
Maybe.
All right. So, have you ever dug into your pocket to buy something for a member of the public? I'm sure you've bought Christmas presents and birthday presents for people like we all have, but in your capacity as a police officer, have you done?
I'm going to sound like really cheap. I guess maybe we would get some free McDonald's food sometimes and give it to somebody who was really down on their luck.
That's something.
Yeah, it didn't really, it wasn't really out of pocket. McDonald's was always good to us as far as.
You used your connections at McDonald's. McDonald's paid for it, and that's all right. That's still.
Yeah, we were just a conduit, but the idea was to get the food to somebody. And
all right, want to talk to Helen Sheridan? That's H. Shearer in the.
She's been on before, yeah.
Yes. Hey, Helen, lower your computer so that we don't get feedback. Hi, Helen.
My apologies.
No, that's all right, darling. You can do no wrong in my eyes. How are you?
Very well, Jeff. Thank you. And hello to you, Greg.
Hi there, Helen.
So I don't want to be too intrusive, but I think you told us before what part of the country you're in. Can we say that?
Yes, I'm here in freezing cold Washington, D.C. Just a cold wave came out of nowhere and I'm freezing.
Oh, my goodness. So let's be intrusive anyway, because Washington, D.C. is a place that people don't always go to unless they work for the government. Or
very true.
Yes. Are you a government worker?
No, never been. I've been the other type, the non-governmental organization, the NGO, the nonprofits. Which is the other side of Washington, D.C., besides the lobbyists, of course.
Yeah. The NGOs, the ones that are now being exposed as money laundering operations, is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
The ones that are now being debated about, let's put it that way, yes.
Well, I'm sure they're not all corrupt. I used to work in the nonprofit field, and I was always honest. And I always felt bad when people painted with a broad brushstroke and condemned the whole profession. So I certainly wouldn't want to do that to you. So anyway,
Thank you.
Well, all right. Well, so what's on your what's up, Helen?
Well, besides the freezing cold, I
Yeah.
was curious to ask Greg, although I do like to say hello to you, Jeff.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm not important.
You always are important, Jeff. So, Greg, what do you think about the Good Samaritan law? Because I remember a few years ago, maybe a few decades, there were these laws that were passed about the Good Samaritan that would respond to a person in need in the road. And you, as a police officer, what was your opinion about those laws?
I think they're important to have because you don't want people failing to take action for fear of being sued. I mean, that I think is the purpose of the or the intent of the law. You want to encourage people, especially if they're on the scene before anyone else arrives, do something. I mean, there's nothing more disturbing than people standing around watching somebody that has a medical issue or has been injured, and they just watch. I mean, it's disturbing to see. So I think it's supposed to encourage people to try to do something to help that person, even if it's just for a few minutes until the first responders arrive on the scene. But there's usually a lapse of time there between when something bad happens and a professional gets to the scene. And I think it's critical that people feel comfortable in trying to do whatever they can do, even if it's just render some type of a comfort or support to the person when they're hurt.
Helen's soaking that in. Are you there, Helen?
I am here, but I cannot hear Greg.
You can't hear Greg anymore?
Okay.
No, I did not. I'm going to have to replay that one. So thank you, Greg, for your answer,
hold
but
on.
I'm going to have to replay it.
Well, hold on. You didn't hear him at all, or just for part of it?
None of it. I hear you, Jeff, perfectly well, but not Greg.
I wonder why that happened.
Wow.
Worked for Somerville John. All right. Well, let me ask you a question before you go, Helen. The chat is trying to figure out what your accent is. One guess is Russian. I don't think that's it. I don't even want to guess. How about you, Greg? You want to take a stab at it?
I'm going to say European, maybe one of the prior Slavic countries like Ukraine or something like that. Or
Helen?
I am here. Did
I forgot.
Greg respond?
Oh yeah, I forgot. You can't hear Greg. That is so weird. I don't know why that's happening.
Yeah,
that is so true.
All right. So where are you from, Helen? What's the accent?
The accent is Spanish.
Spanish.
Ooh.
As in Spain?
Spain.
All right.
Yes.
Wow, I couldn't be more off.
No. All right. Well, I'm a little bit disappointed that our phone system suddenly is going haywire. But anyway, thank you so much for the call, Helen, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, and you too, and everyone else. Best wishes.
I will wave goodbye, seeing she cannot hear me at this point.
Good night.
Greg is waving goodbye since you can't hear. Take care now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Gee, I'm embarrassed. I thought I used to have a pretty good ear for accents and dialects and stuff, and I missed that one by a mile.
I can't get my mind off the fact that she couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would have happened. All right. Back. Focus. Figure it out later, maybe. Helen is Spanish. Very good. Thank you for the call. I don't know what's the matter with the rest of you. This is our year-end show. Come on. Let's hear from one or two more regulars before we say goodbye. We've got just one more video to go. So we'll get through that. And then if anybody else calls, we'll take that call, and then we can say good night. Last video is, well, I won't even give it a setup. I'll just play it. Here it comes.
It's okay, buddy. We're here to help him. You're a good boy.
I'm having a lot of technical difficulties. Let me try that again.
We're not going to separate you. You can come with us.
Let me start that at the beginning.
It's okay, buddy. We're here to help him. You're a good boy. We're not going to separate you. You can come with us. Just stay calm.
All right, not much going on there. Just kind of sweet.
Yeah.
That the dog cares about his or her owner, and the cop was very kind and said, "Okay, you can come." Have you ever no, I guess sometimes you deal with medical situations as well as crime. Have you ever been involved where the person's pet came with them?
No, I can't recall, but I mean, I would not make that call at the time. I would defer to the fire department or the EMTs or the paramedics or whoever. I don't think that's fair for the police officer to make the decision, but I certainly am touched by the fact that they were kind enough to do that.
Yeah, that is very nice. Well, I guess if you were arresting somebody, you wouldn't let them take their pet. But, I think I told this story before when I got stopped at Best Buy because I refused to show my receipt.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And I eventually gave in because I was freezing. I didn't have a jacket with me, and I had a cat at home, and I was cooking food. So it's like, I think if they had arrested me, they probably would not have allowed me to go and feed the cat or anything
Yeah,
like that.
probably not.
But it's a legitimate concern, though. It's like, if somebody's being arrested, you know what I mean? Would that tug at your heartstrings at least? Like, because it's not about being merciful so much to the arrestee as it is being merciful to the pet. You know what I mean?
Yes. I don't think that's something that would trouble me a lot. If it was a cat.
Well, whatever. It's like, hey, here, okay, well, you can take me home, but can we stop and let me feed my pet or something like that?
Yeah, I think I'd be lying if I said that would be a concern of mine. Yeah.
All right. Honest answer. You are under oath after all.
Yes, I am.
Now, here's something that I've always wondered. It's kind of a similar thing is if you put somebody in the back of a police car, the doors cannot be opened, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So is it really necessary to handcuff anybody who you arrest, and do you ever not handcuff them?
Personally, no, I always handcuffed and almost always behind the back. Unless the person had some sort of a legitimate, provable medical issue, like a dislocated shoulder type of a thing, where they physically could not get their arms behind their back. But it's an officer safety issue. I mean,
what about an 80-year-old woman who you arrested for shoplifting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to, I was at one time a defensive tactics instructor, which included, handcuffing. And there is a way, if you handcuff someone, I don't know if you can see my hands.
Look at John says most criminals do not own pets. I don't know. That's quite a generalization.
With the backs of your hands touching, right? Mm-hmm. And you handcuff the person in front that way, mm-hmm. It makes it very difficult for them to do anything. They're at a big disadvantage. When you're handcuffed like this, you can manipulate a lot of things. Like this, very, very difficult. So that was shown to me when I was being trained.
That's with their hands behind their back?
No, in front.
Oh, in front.
Like when you're saying, like with this 80-year-old.
Oh, okay. But the standard way is to be behind their back. Is that correct or not?
Behind their back, and ideally, same way, back of the hands together.
Okay.
Because it makes it very difficult to manipulate things with your fingers when the backs of your hands are touching.
So I've only been handcuffed once, and no, it was not in an S&M situation. It was by the police. I've told this story before. I won't tell it again, but I was arrested for disturbing the peace in the context of a hidden camera prank that I did for a TV show. So they handcuffed me, and it was really painful. And I even asked them to loosen it. I think they eventually did. But when they took the handcuffs off me, there was an indentation in my flesh that stayed there for quite a while. Is that normal? And if it's not normal, do you think they did it intentionally, or is it hard to tell when you put handcuffs on somebody how tight it is? Is there, are you, the police officer, able to gauge that?
Well, in a sort of a violent or an uncontrolled situation, it's difficult to gauge. The more compliant the person is, the easier it is to make it less uncomfortable. I would never call them comfortable, but you can make them less uncomfortable. And the newer handcuffs all have a double locking system. So when you double lock it, they cannot get any tighter. They won't get any looser, but they won't get any tighter. So if you have
an indentation in my flesh, is that unusual, or is that typical what happens when people are handcuffed?
It's typical, but the longer you're in them, the more obvious the indentation is going to be.
It wasn't that long. It wasn't that long.
Or if they put them on tight, if they put them on tight, you're going to have some.
It really hurt. See, since I haven't ever been arrested any other time, I have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been handcuffed before, obviously not to be arrested, but when we do role-playing scenarios, especially like in SWAT operations, if you were the unfortunate person that had to be the role player of either the hostage or the hostage taker, they would, end up handcuffing you by the end of the scenario. So even though they were not very long, you got to experience what it felt like, and it was not comfortable. You're right.
All right, Stefan in the Bronx is being his usual Stefan self. Somerville John has deemed this a good question. I don't know if I agree. What about the arrestee's dignity? After all, he or she is just accused, not convicted of a crime. So therefore what, Stefan?
Well, if it's a custodial arrest, it's a protective measure to keep the person in custody. I mean, you are in custody, at which point you have to be controlled to be in custody.
Yeah, I would like to know what Stefan thinks is undignified that shouldn't be done. Here's Stefan again, showing his anti-police bias.
Okay. Well,
Greg, you speak of officer safety. That's what they signed up for. Well,
right.
they signed up.
No one signed up to be injured or killed, right? They signed up to serve and protect, but being hurt or wounded or killed is not part of the program, or else you would have zero recruits signing up to become police officers.
This is the question I already asked, Stefan. That's why we're having this conversation. Get with the program. You want to give us a call, Stefan? You have 2 minutes. We're about ready to sign off, but if you feel like calling, let's talk it out, my man. Stefan and I have a love-hate relationship. I love him and he hates me.
Then he's going to really hate me then.
No. Nobody hates you. You're a good guy. All right. Well, Greg, this is our 12th episode. I just want to say it's an exquisite pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Thanks for your recent greetings that you texted me, Stefan, after I asked you to email me instead. This guy is, if I had to sum up Stefan in one word, it would be incorrigible. Some people are malleable. You can persuade them to behave as you want. Not Stefan. Completely incorrigible. All right. Anyway, I started to say it's been an exquisite pleasure working with you, and I look forward to the new year and many years to come. I think it's only been 12 episodes, so we're doing pretty well so far. Got to build up a big audience.
Sure.
And we're getting there.
And thanks for all of your technical abilities, because that would never happen with me at the helm.
I have technical abilities? I didn't know that, but okay, thanks. And thanks to Helen for calling. Thanks to Somerville Job. Thanks to everybody in our beloved audience. We appreciate it. And the next time we're together, it'll be next year, as they say. Take care, everybody.